Okay, so you've noticed something, and that's maybe your child isn't developing like the other kids, and you've got that gut feeling about what do you do next. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about beginning the process of getting an autism diagnosis, and we're going to give you examples of the things we've been through getting our children diagnosed. So if you're feeling a little bit unsure and overwhelmed of where to start, stick around and we'll explain everything.
So realising when it's time to act and when the suspicion kind of starts to grow. I know we touched on it briefly on the last episode about the signs and the traits, but another kind of experience that we want to mention also is that when we were living in Norfolk a few years ago, one of my friends had a little boy who was going through the process of being diagnosed with autism.
He was a similar age, wasn't he, as well, to our boys?
He was, the same sort of age as Bub and Bear. And I used to observe him and kind of watch him tiptoeing on his feet as he was walking around, and again, not being very verbal or showing very much eye contact. And it was some of these signs that once I'd noticed them in my boys, it was kind of like, right, I think the suspicion is starting to show.
Yeah, and that was more the realisation that maybe we should act on some of these suspicions, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was the first thing that sort of led it clue-wise with, it was Bear, wasn't it? He was the one that first presented, okay, he's got some of these traits that could be autism. Do you want to just tell them a bit about what we were...
So it was the tiptoeing. So Bear would walk around on his tiptoes all the time, consistently. Obviously, that was for a sensory sort of feedback, and he wasn't giving us any eye contact, and he was completely non-verbal. He was severely delayed in his milestones and everything. By this point, we're talking sort of around the age of 2. And he would do things like play with fecal matter and things like that.
Pika was a big thing as well, putting things in his mouth. We had an incident as well where him and his brother decided to go in the garden and eat mushrooms. Literally took our eyes on them for a second, and they come back to a pile of mushrooms destroyed on the floor. And that was an interesting trip to the A&E department, where he found out they were more like button mushrooms. There was nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I think it was quite funny. The report that we got back was that they were experimenting with hallucinogenics.
Having a little trip. But that was the same house actually where he decided to eat loads of stones as well.
It was.
I believe. Which again, every trip to the A&E department with a new topic of conversation. They were quite well known there.
We were.
That was another indication anyway, was the sort of Pika, which you'll learn about as well, is getting the sort of sensory feedback of putting things in your mouth, isn't it? So there can be all kinds of things ranging from, as we said, horrible things like fecal matter to the stones and things that are strange shape.
And shouldn't be ingested.
Shouldn't be ingested, but they'll try anyway.
Something else that I want to bring up on this episode, which I feel is quite important, is when you are in a relationship or a marriage with the other parent of your children, and if, say, one of you has some suspicions that there's something underlying going on, but your spouse or your partner doesn't see it, that can obviously cause a bit of a strain on a relationship. And is something that we kind of want to mention and talk about. Yeah,
because obviously Elizabeth had the suspicions that something was out of place, and looking back, I was in complete and utter denial about it. As I said before, I didn't really handle it well, but I was under the impression nothing was wrong. It was all in your head. You were going a bit balmy with it all. But you have to understand it's a team game, so if one of you has those suspicions, you need to respect that person's view on it. You know, you can have yours as well, but it's better to err on the side of caution, I reckon, looking back now, because obviously you're right about everything as usual. But yeah, I complete denial about it, didn't handle it well. So I wasn't happy about this process being started. I didn't want to get the labels on the children. But again, there's nothing wrong. It's completely better to have them diagnosed and assessed. And if it turns out it is all in your head with it, you know,
at least you have an answer.
Yeah, you have that answer.
You have that answer.
Rather than living in doubt.
Yeah.
So yeah, something I had to adjust to and get my head round.
And it can be quite difficult to know how to sort of approach the topic with your partner as well. I think the best advice that I can give is that there's no way of kind of sugarcoating it. You just need to obviously sit down, explain your concerns, explain what sort of avenue that you want to go down, and hopefully come to an agreement of what suits you and your family, really.
Yeah, and keep that open mind. Don't have it closed off. Get some answers is my sort of advice as well to the dads out there. If you're feeling like you don't want to go down that road, it's not a terrible road to go down. In fact, knowledge is key in this. So the more you know,
the better you'll be able to support your children, whether they have autism or not.
Yeah.
So making the first move, we have briefly touched on this as well. It's very dependent on the age of your autistic person, whether we are talking about a toddler, a school-age child, or even an adult that wants to go through the assessment process. There's the GPs, health visitors, educational settings that can all kind of start this process off.
There is the private avenue as well. We'll touch on that a bit later. That's a completely different ball game.
Yeah. So if your child is under the age of 4, whether they are in an educational setting, nursery or not, the assessment process for that is called a multidisciplinary assessment, so an MDA. You can go directly through to your GP and request to have an assessment done for your child, or you can talk to whoever is the childcare provider, as I say.
Yeah, be it in nursery or a school setting.
Or a school setting. In terms of the multidisciplinary assessment, what tends to take place is that they'll have speech and language therapists that would go into your child's educational setting to do some observations, but there will also be a formal assessment, as you will, where you would go to a centre and they would have some professionals also observe your child, and it usually tends to be a panel of people.
Yeah, so your role in that particular avenue is you're more of an instigator. Your involvement will be quite minimal at that point because this is for external people to come in and assess. So it's their job to come in and have a look, completely unbiased. Obviously, they'll take your concerns on board with it as to why they're going to do the assessment, but you sort of have to hang back and let them do their job and trust in the process.
Yeah. If your child is, say, over the age of 4 and they are in primary school, then they would be on the over 4-5 pathway of assessment, and this would usually take place completely all at your child's educational setting, so at school. There wouldn't necessarily be a separate assessment where you would go to a centre. Bub was diagnosed when he was in reception on the over 4-5 pathway, and that whole entire process went through school, not through home. To
clarify, it's not disruptive to their education. They'll come in and simply observe their behaviour, so it's like taking a backseat and watching how they're interacting in the day. So it's not going to interfere with their schooling in any way.
Yeah.
It's quite minimally invasive, so they shouldn't even know what's going on, really.
Yeah.
The whole process. So it's quite streamlined, isn't it?
It is.
But again, that'll lead us back to it's going to be a bit of a wait for some of these assessments to take place as well.
Yeah.
Not only your MDAs, but getting the assessment in the schooling area. That can take a long time to get the initiation and just to get that ball rolling. So you've got to be patient with the process, which some people can be tempted jumping back. Going down the private avenue, they'll try and pay to have these assessments done because it's quite quick. There's nothing wrong with that if you've got the resources to do it and you want to go down that avenue. Fair play to you. But you need to be careful with some of these companies because some of them aren't recognised under the NHS. So you'll go through all this, spend a bit of money getting your children diagnosed, and the NHS won't actually recognise the diagnosis from these private companies. So double check with them before you go down that road that they will recognise them.
yeah, it can end up being quite expensive to go private, but also, as John has just mentioned, that not every sort of charity or the government, the NHS, sometimes they do not necessarily recognise a diagnosis that's come from a private entity, basically.
Yeah. So in regards to your referrals as well, they can take a while, they can take months, some people can actually wait years, sadly. It's a bit of a lottery with it. But what you want to make sure you get with that as well is a confirmation letter that you're in this process as well, because that's going to be quite a useful thing to have as well when applying for certain things. Because you don't actually need the diagnosis to be able to start getting some help.
Yes.
But what you do need is proof you're going through the process. So that's quite an important thing to have, is that you're going through this with the suspicions you've got. And that letter is going to be really useful. Again, putting it away in your filing cabinet, come back to it, and you've got that proof as well, because sometimes it takes years, unfortunately. So yeah, again, you don't need diagnosis to request any support at school as well, or at the nursery setting, going down the multidisciplinary route. You just need that initial trigger to be pulled where you want the investigation to start with your GP or your school setting.
There are things that you can be doing in the meantime while you're waiting for these processes to sort of start.
Remember, we're British, we're built for queuing up and waiting.
Yeah, that's too true. So as John has mentioned, definitely get a folder going, keep all your documentations of any referral letters, any appointment letters.
Keep everything, don't throw anything away.
Because all this is going to help support your assessment, but also help support you in any applications that you might make further on down the line, to get support for, financial or emotional or whatever it is that you.
DLA is going to be an important thing as well, which these forms are going to help you with keeping this proof. We'll do another episode touching specifically on that as well, because that's quite a complex list of forms you've got to fill out.
So DLA is called Disability Living Allowance, and it's a form of benefit that you can apply for to help you care for your autistic child. Yeah,
and it's not means tested as well, the DLA.
Yeah.
So it's a really useful thing to have as well. You're entitled to it if you've got a child under this umbrella. So make sure you utilise it, because it's, at the end of the day, that's what it's designed for. So
yeah, and it is something that you can apply for prior to having an official diagnosis. If your child has got additional needs and you're having to go above and beyond what the expected level of care would be for a typical child of that age, then you are eligible to put an application through and apply for that financial support for you and your autistic person.
Yeah, so it's important. So again, touching back on that of what to do while you're waiting, you want to keep track of all the triggers you're going to get, the wins, any regressions with behaviours. Just keep that diary as well. It's all going to be useful information, because you try to go to an appointment with a GP and try and nail it off the top of your head, you're not going to have a clue. But you've got that diary there, you can look back and you've got it all in front of you, all the evidence you need. So that's an important thing as well. I keep reiterating that. Write it down, keep evidence, so important. So let's touch on what we wish we knew sooner as well.
Yeah, I'd say don't wait for the school or someone else to instigate these investigations. You are the parent, the carer, you're the one that's with your person the majority of the time. Nobody knows them like you do. If you've got an inkling that you need to get some answers for, 100%, don't wait. Do it yourself. Yeah,
and you've got to really be prepared to fight for your child as well. As nice as the people are who deal with this in this community, you're really going to have to get it in your head that you're going to need to push for what's best for your child, because you're going to get a lot of pushback as well. It's not out of anything malice from these people. It's the sheer amount of applications they get through. They've got to find a way of sifting through. But if you've got your suspicions, you need to push and fight for it to have your voice heard. So that's very important as well.
The fighting process starts from the moment you start this application, and it will continue on.
Well, we've been to court over it. That's how far we've had to take it to get our voices heard with some areas. So it's a constant battle. with it. So be prepared, get yourself a Red Bull and go to war really for your child, because that's what you need to do. The diagnosis isn't going to change your child. They are who they are. It doesn't put a label on them. Ignore any of that nonsense and mumbo jumbo. It's just going to give you reasons, explanations really. It's going to help you find a way of parenting
and understanding your child.
Yeah, because you could try doing the parenting of a neurotypical child. It's not going to be beneficial to your child. So you've got to find that way of navigating through this wonderful little world they're going to be living in. And it's just a little tweak here and there, but it's easy, it's lovely, it's nice, challenging, but everything's a challenge in life.
It is, yeah. So with that in mind, keep your heads up.
Yeah.
And you're doing everything that you can.
Yeah, it's I know there's a lot of single parents out there as well, lots of teams, but this life is a team game, so you need to bring in help as well. Don't try and do it on your own. That's the reason all the support exists. It's challenging, it's difficult, so make sure as well you use support networks as well. Join up to some coffee mornings as well with other parents who have got similar things going on. There's thousands online forums that deal with this as well.
There is.
To get advice, not just us waffling on. You need to go out there as well and mingle with other parents who are going through the same process, and they're going to have wonderful insights as well, and things that you wouldn't have thought of doing, how to parent, how to deal with X, Y, Z. So that's going to be really beneficial as well.
It's something that definitely helped me during the early years of our children's development, was doing that.
Yeah.
And there's a saying as well that I stand by and absolutely love, and it's you choose your army and you pick your battles.
Yeah. So in the next episode, what we're going to be talking about is what you're going to experience going through the different autism assessment. So whether that be the multidisciplinary assessment or the one during the schooling time. I know we touched on it briefly here. We're going to go into it in a bit more depth just to prepare you on what's to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, viewers, for watching. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments.
Yeah, and we're going to try and get back to them as quick as possible as well. We'll be checking it daily. Few times a day. We obsess about stuff like that, so any answer we don't get back to, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Yeah, so fear not, we're here for you, and we'll see you next time. Take care.